Hi, Wade Galt with Smart Bonus Systems here. Going to give you a brief tour of the software in Smart Bonus Systems, show you the flow of how things work. There's a lot more to the system than you're going to see in this video. I'm going to give you kind of the overview. There are going to be many more reports and bonus feature setups than you'll see here. We probably have the most flexible system out there, but just wanted to show you up front what a lot of people will use and some of the key features. First, we're going to look at the office file or the agency owner's file, the agent's file, who looks at the whole situation of the agency. And starting out up front on their first page, their homepage dashboard, we have different reports to show what sort of production is going on. So we've got issued production sales, agency payroll. You'll be able to see graphs like this updated in real time. We have reports on the source of business, where it's coming from for auto, fire, life, health, and bank. And you can look at these by different months. If your team members are tracking their sales quoting activity and results, we can see their level of quotes, sales being made, and their closing ratios. And each of these has a report behind them, but just to kind of give you an overview of what's going on there. If we look at the setup screens, we can set up team members just by typing in their names, and that will go ahead and set them up. And we have some other admin options for them there. We can set up the marketing fields by indicating up to 20 sources of business, up to 100 specific sources. So for example, I could track internet lead as a source of business, and our primary reports show 20, but I could drill down and say that's an internet lead from InsWeb, or that's a direct mail letter from postcard 123. So I can really track deeper to see which marketing efforts are working and which ones I want to continue investing in. I can track the previous carrier or any other label I want I could put on this. So here, a lot of agents we know will track the previous carrier. So we have some populated there. And again, you could tweak those or update those. You can track life events if you want. You can also track the referring client or the zip code the business came from. So a lot of ability to track detailed information. You don't have to do it. Some agents find it's more information they need. Others like to track it. It's totally up to you. Then you have the ability to set up the bonuses. And again, there's a lot more than we're going to show you here. And in fact, we will coach you, if you want, on the best practices for each type of team member, the retention person, the auto-fire growth person, and the multi-line salesperson. What's the best way to compensate them? And you could use that help, and we can simply coach you on that and help you set that up. Or if you prefer, you can set up your own plan. And again, we could do that for you, or you could set it up if you wanted to. You just go into the screen here and you can type different categories, or some of them are already populated here. And you can put a percentage of premium or a dollar bonus amount. We have different target bonuses. This is just one example of one of the types of target bonuses. We have quarterly and annual and monthly target bonuses. We have individual and team target bonuses. Not that you'd use all of them, but they're there. And basically you've got the ability to set policy targets or premium targets or dollar targets. You have the ability to have the targets have up to 5 levels, which is more than enough. More than that kind of really usually confuses people. And then you have the ability to have bonuses be a percentage of premium. That could be a percentage of auto premium or auto fire premium, or it could be a dollar amount per policy or a flat dollar amount. So there's a lot of flexibility as far as how you can compensate if you need that. If we go to the payroll reports, you'll see that there's a payroll report for each month. There's payroll reports for quarterly bonuses if you have those, and annual bonuses. And if you look inside a payroll report, you'll basically see that it lists each of the team members, what their issued production is, and the bonuses they've earned. And over on the far right here, I can see how much to pay them. I can see that information in real time at any time. And I can verify that and validate how much I pay them simply by typing in the amount. Under the production reports menu, you'd see we have a whole host of reports: detailed production, app registers, summary reports, some producer reports to compare producer production, daily and weekly production reports, premium builder reports if that's something that's important for you. We have additional reports on producer return on investment, multi-line comparison reports between team members, quoting reports, reports on detailed sources of business, marketing return on investment, and company goals like tracking your scorecard or on-time production. So there's no shortage of reporting features in here. We simply don't always show all of them because it sometimes confuses people to see that much. Usually everybody has their favorite report that they use, and all the reports are going to be populated by what the team member enters. So from here, we're going to take a look at a producer file. So we look at the producer file here. We've got a demo file here, a multi-line newbie, and they also have a dashboard where they have different reports, production sales by month, income by month, and have additional reports they can look at so they can see where they're at. So they'll have their production goals versus their actual production results as a graph. They can see the income sources of where their income is coming from, auto, fire, life, and health. They can see our possible money report, a summary of that, which we'll look at that in depth in a little bit, where we can show them how much they're currently making and how much more they could be making at higher levels of production. They can also see their sources of business, again, where their business is coming from as far as what they're writing. They can check out their sales quoting activity and results if they're taking part in that. And they can also see their client review activity and results if they're conducting multi-line client reviews. From the dashboard, they can just click on the Enter Production tab, and from there they can choose whichever line they're going to enter production for. So if they go to Enter Auto here as an example, here we have some sample data. Mrs. Jones has a policy number here. We've got a date written, a date the bonus is paid. That's when they get credit for the sales, so they can be paid off of written or issued. The policy and premium credit. If it's a full credit sale, they'd put a 1 there and they get full credit for the sale. They could split the sale if they want to with a half credit. They could do chargebacks if that's what you want to do. The type of product, they can choose from a drop down or they can type that in. The semi-annual premium is what they would enter for an auto. If it was a fire policy, they'd enter the annual premium. And again, they can put in the client request, or if it was a direct mail letter, they could put in direct mail, and they could choose it's from postcard 123. Whatever is the accurate information to record the sale, and the system will record the bonus on the right-hand side. A few other things will happen just from this data. If we look up top, we'll see that the payroll report is populated from the data. And so the office file, we saw the view of an agency. In this case, we're going to see this team member's production for the year. And again, this is demo information. We'd be able to see their multi-line production summary report. What that's going to do is give them a sense of, in any particular month or quarter or year, what were their goals versus actual production, premiums sold, average premium, so it gives them their production on the left, similar numbers on the right for the agency, report to show them where their business came from, and then further down the ability to see where their income is coming from as far as auto, fire, life, health, and also income by bonus type, their initial bonuses versus team target bonuses or initial individual target bonuses, whatever that is, the system's going to show this. And this report prints out as a one-page report. It's a great report for team members to compare once a month how they're doing and how they can best share best practices. Who's getting the most salesperson pivots? What are you doing? Who's getting the most personal visit sales? What are you doing? From there, we also want to show them a very important report called the Possible Money Report. This is going to show them where they currently are and where they could be. So first, this person can see you currently have $278 of bonus. At the next level, you could be at $497. At the maximum level, you could be at $1,483. A little further down the page on the same report, we'll see all the breakdown of that. You currently have 20 policies. You're at level 1. You've earned $71 of target bonus. If you were at 21 policies, just one more policy more, you'd have $87. If you were at 30 policies, you'd have $187.50. And so for each line, it shows them how they can make more, which explains how the totals go from $278 to $497 to $1,482. And at the bottom of the page, we have the 5 coaching questions. And the best practice for this is to have your team members come to you every week, print out this report. It prints out as a one-page report, and go over with you and answer the 5 questions. What's working? What's not working? What are their goals? How can they improve on what they did last week? And what support do they need from you? In addition to that, we're very focused on making sure team members are not only setting income goals, but creating related action plans. So in the income goals section, the team member can indicate what they think they'll make as far as their sales levels, the bonuses they believe they'll qualify for, and from that, the system will project how much money they would make. But we don't stop there. we also want them to be able to create an action plan in order to reach those goals. So they'll have their goals that we set on the previous screen, the 25 auto, 15 fire, and so on, and they'll see how much they can make if they hit those goals. But in addition to that, we'll ask them to create their action plan every single month. What are they going to do to get there? So in this case, 100 actions of making homeowners without auto calls. This person's thinking that's going to get them 5 auto policy sales. 25 homeowner pivots, hopefully will get them 5 fire policies. 10 multi-line client review appointments will hopefully get them 2 life, 2 health, 2 bank. And so they're not just setting a goal and leaving it at that. They're creating an action plan that has a reasonable chance of helping them get there. As they create that action plan, they have the ability to track their activity moving towards it. So if they're working on auto fire sales goals, they could track their quoting activity, where the business came from. It's an auto quote. This person worked on it on January 7th. They followed up on January 9th. And the primary deciding factor why the client bought was the brand. The policy was sold on January 7th. And they made 2 auto sales for $1,000 of premium. The second client, Joe Smith here, came from a direct mail letter. We quoted 2 product lines. He ended up not buying because of price. From this information, we can run the report to see what sort of activity levels are going on a monthly and weekly basis. So monthly, this person has 4 auto quotes for January, 2 sales have been made. That's a 50% closing ratio with $1,000 of premium sold. And we have the corresponding reports to track that. We can also look at the same data by week, because when you have team members trying to do high levels of P&C production, you definitely want to be on top of their weekly activity and the weekly results that come from that. For those team members that are also conducting client reviews, we have the ability to use a similar tracker for their client review activity. So on January 7th, this person used word track number 1 and made 50 appointment calls and set 5 appointments. Maybe this is what this person did to set the appointments. Maybe somebody else set the appointments, in which case they'd enter them on a different screen. Number 2 here, this multi-line salesperson met with John Harris. There was 1 appointment. The client brought in their life and disability policies to be reviewed. They filled out the questionnaire, and they got a life and disability sale from that. And just as in the situation with the quotes, we have a client review report. And the client review report will show us the activity levels, policies brought in, how often the clients engaged in certain steps in the sales process, what policies were reviewed, what sales came from that. And again, we'll be able to use graphs to examine the trends, and we can track success and conversion ratios as well. We can do this with data and with graphs. What percentage of appointments set end up showing? What percentage of the clients bring in policies? What percentage of the clients do coverage reviews? And what percentage of the time does that lead to a sale? So all of these things are options for the producer. They do not have to be done. Some team members simply enter their production and calculate their bonus. But for those team members who want to be excellent, we have the ability for them to enter their production, and from that, it'll generate reports for them and also some key reports for the agency. We're going to look at a couple of those right now. We have many reports for producer ROI and marketing ROI. One of the simplest reports to start out with is our multi-line summary report. When agency owners are trying to figure out if team members are in the right roles, it's important that we use the right criteria to measure them by. So for example, if I'm looking at a multi-line producer, I need to determine, can they turn auto fire sales opportunities into life, health, and other non-demand product sales? So as an example here, my multi-line star in a given month writes 20 auto and 10 fire. That's 30 P&C or auto fire policies. Out of those 30 sales, they write 4 life, 4 health, and 1 bank for a total of 9 non-demand products. 9 non-demand products divided by 30 equals a 30% conversion ratio or multi-line ratio. So 30% of the time when they write an auto or a fire policy, they're writing a non-demand product. My multi-line newbie also is writing 20 auto and 10 fire for 30 P&C in a month, but they're writing 1 life, 1 health, 1 bank, so that's 3 non-demand products over 30 equals 10%. As you get to know the roles better, you'll know that a 10% multi-line ratio is a good starting or beginner ratio, and a team member below that really isn't even multi-lining, and a 30% multi-line ratio is a really excellent multi-line ratio. But over time, if a team member is supposed to be multi-lining and 3 to 6 months have passed and they're not multi-lining at least a 10% ratio, I know they're wrong for the position. It's information like this and the coaching we provide around that that's huge to help you decide if you have the right people in the right roles and if you're making money off of them, mainly because if you have the wrong person in the wrong role, it's going to cost you their base salary plus about another 50% every single month. And we know those are the big decisions that most agency owners really need support with. Not just how to have the system bonus the team member, but also make sure they're the right fit for the role. If a person's supposed to be writing a lot of proactive business, I would look at what they're writing. So in this case, I've got some people that are writing raw new business, my multi-line stars. My rainmakers, the people who are making sales happen, are writing solicited business. They're making the sales happen. So that's really good. There's different levels of volume, but they're all solicited. If I look at the service stars, they're mainly doing add-on business that comes in, which makes sense. If I look deeper here, the rainmaker, some of their business is coming from a center of influence, some from networking and marketing, and a lot from personal visits. The rainmaker newbie has a similar situation as far as their sources, but not writing as much of that. Most of the business for the other team members is coming as a result of client request, where the client is saying, I want that business. So there's a real clear distinction between a solicited sale, where the team member's making that sale happen, versus a raw new, where the client just walks in and says, yes, I'd like that policy or that product because I've heard of you guys before. Overall, all this data is going to best help us to measure if we have the right team members in the right roles and help us optimize the profit for the agency. The final piece of the system is in some ways the first piece. It's great to have a compensation system that'll track what team members can do and show them what's possible. But even more importantly, it is to have very clear definitions of the roles in your agency so you can recruit and hire accordingly, and to have compensation packages that are specifically designed to attract, onboard, coach, train, develop, and motivate team members to do excellent in each of the roles. We happen to know that the retention role is extremely important to the agency and the lapse rate in being able to grow the agency. That's a very different role than a person who spends the majority of their time focusing on new acquisition or P&C auto-fire growth. That's also very different from the third role, the multi-line salesperson, who's primarily focused on working on in-book business to make high levels of multi-line sales. And that role is very different than the office manager, or as we prefer to call it, the results automator position, where you have a team member whose primary focus is to make sure that the agency owner's wishes are being executed consistently. For each of these roles, there's information we'd gather, and to give you just a real quick preview, we would help set up target bonuses for each of the roles based on what they're supposed to excel at, and create bonus plans that are relevant for each role based on how we pay them as far as dollar amounts, lapse rate bonuses, and so on. And with this information, we can show team members what's possible if they performed at different levels of production, and even give them graphical illustrations of how that is. These are simply demo numbers or dummy numbers here, but you get the idea. In addition to that, we don't want to just create the opportunity. We want to be able to recruit experts for our agency and make sure we're attracting the right ones and getting rid of the wrong ones. So if we look at our standards here, if I've got a retention person, I'm going to very clearly communicate that their first critical result to achieve is to help the agency have a low lapse rate. And based on their performance, they could either be doing an outstanding job, in which case they get bonuses, or they could be completely failing, in which case they would get no bonuses. Or maybe they'd have a job review if they're not making their retention calls. Or maybe they could be on probation and receive no bonuses if, as the agency owner, I'm spending too much time doing service and retention work when my service and retention team is supposed to be doing that. I can create milestones for production to make sure my team members are performing at high levels, and as I'm recruiting somebody, to let them know if you're not getting a certain result by a certain time, I'll be letting you go. The same thing goes with creating a training program for a team member and showing them how we're going to develop them over time, as well as showing them what responsibilities they need to be able to do. So if a person comes in and says, I'm brand new versus, hey, I've been in the industry for a while, okay, tell me and sign off on this document. Which of these tasks do you already know how to do so I can accurately assess what you're worth? I have the ability to show a team member an expanding career opportunity. So many agency owners get so caught up with this concept of an agent aspirant or a person who wants to be an agency owner. That really doesn't mean that much to me. I want that person to come in and make money for my agency, and over time they can evolve and develop. I'd rather have that person with me for 3 years rather than 18 months. And I'll let them evolve and say, look, first come in like everybody else does, unless you've got prior experience already getting high-level results. Come on in and first be a retention expert and get certain results as far as making retention calls and setting appointments and getting clients to bring in their policies to be reviewed. And if you can do that, you could make $26,000 to $36,000 in my agency. And this happens to be illustrated in a $24,000 base, just a random number, depends on your market. You can also earn additional paid vacation days in my agency in addition to what you're already making. Once you've done really well as a retention expert and you're performing towards level 4 and 5, now we can help you look at becoming an auto-fire growth expert. But if you can't do a good job setting appointments, if you can't even set 5 appointments, why would I ever promote you to be an auto-fire growth expert or a multi-line sales expert? You probably can't sell high volumes of auto. You probably can't sell life, health, or bank. So by nature, rather than spending a lot of time training people who don't need to be trained or not ready, you're going to work your way up. If you worked at a McDonald's, you would first work by mopping the floor. And then eventually when you demonstrated you could do that, maybe you'd get a chance to work on fries. And then after you worked on fries for a while and demonstrated competency, you'd move up to burgers, then to cash register. It's not meant to in any way put somebody down. It's simply meant to say, we're not going to invest a whole lot of training and development time into you until you can demonstrate step by step that you're competent. And so you could evolve from a $26,000 opportunity to as high as a $56,000 opportunity eventually, and anywhere from 3 to 15 days of extra paid vacation to as many as 48 days of extra paid vacation. But it's all going to be based on you performing at higher and higher levels and constantly earning it. And again, these are demo numbers. They might be high for your area or low for your area. We'd really have to know the information about your area to help you create the opportunity for your agency. And that's part of what we help you do to make sure you're putting the right opportunities out there to attract the best team members. And so when you go out and post your jobs, you're not just putting out a job in a generic sense that says, hey, come work for me, you can make some money. You're going to put out there and say, hey, if you can do, and you'll spell out the levels of production. If you can do certain levels of production, here's how much money you could make in my agency. And so this is something a lot of agents have a lot of success with on Career Builder, to be able to show in detail what the opportunity is for financial incentives and also the opportunity to earn additional paid vacation. That's how you distinguish yourself from other agency owners out there and really attract some of the best talent available. Hope you've enjoyed this introduction to the bonus system and how it works. If you'd like additional help, please go ahead and sign up or contact us for a free compensation plan consultation. If you get us the information about your agency, we can create some strategies for you and show you how we'd compensate the team members in your agency, and you can see if it's a fit for you. Or if you're ready, just go ahead and sign up now and we'll get you started. Either way, we look forward to helping you make more money in less time doing what you do best. Thank you.